For the last 3 administrations, the United States has assisted Saudi Arabia in their war against Yemen. And this year alone, it's projected that nearly 400,000 children, Yemeni children, could die as a result of the blockade that is ongoing. I want us to look at this first clip from the Yemeni Liberation Movement as they describe what's going on, but also as they describe the hunger strike that is happening as we speak in support of the Yemeni people.
400,000 children, 400,000 are at risk of dying right now in Yemen. US backing of the war started under Obama and escalated under Trump. It's been more than 2 months since the US-backed Saudi blockade has allowed tankers packed with the necessary fuel for food and supplies to reach starving Yemenis.
My name is Muna. I'm a Yemeni from Michigan, and I'm on hunger strike to demand an end to the US-supported blockade in Yemen.
My name is Khalid Kalaz, and I'm a Yemeni organizer.
My name is Monica. I'm with Yemeni Liberation Movement, and I'm hunger striking for Yemen to demand an end to the US-supported blockade.
The US could literally end this today.
The United States could literally end this today. Representative Ilhan Omar had something to say about the hunger strike.
We think about what it means for somebody to make the decision to go on a hunger strike, to bring attention to a devastation that is happening in Yemen, that we must also allow ourselves to consciously continue to think about the people who are living in that starvation and losing their lives every single day. So thank you all for joining us.
Iman Saleh, who's the general coordinator of the Yemeni Liberation Movement, she spoke last night with Jordan Uygur, and I want us to take a listen to what she had to say.
So it's really important for us to keep spreading awareness. We are, don't think of like people just supporting us individually. We are doing this for Yemen. So when our asks are very much intentional and strategized in the sense that what we're doing all goes back to bringing attention to Yemen. So that's one thing. We still need people to sign our petition. We love your website, by the way, and theblockade.com. Everybody check that out. Send a letter to your Congress. Just keep sending them out, because eventually they're going to have to force a vote, right? And when they force a vote, then the blockade's lifted.
Now, I want to emphasize again, the United States has a substantive role in what's going on there through logistical support and munitions. And so the United States literally can come to the aid of Yemen right now and prevent potentially 400,000 Yemeni children alone, not to mention men and women and non-gender conforming Yemenis. Alone, we could stop this tragedy that's ongoing. Iman Saleh did an op-ed in the Washington Post, and she put it so poignantly. She said, at least 400,000 Yemeni children under 5 could die of starvation this year without urgent intervention, according to 4 United Nations agencies. The siege against Yemen not only has had a crippling effect on everyday life, but it is also compounding the ongoing conflict in the country, causing damage that exceeds even the violence itself in both scale and intensity. She went on to say, during the past few days, I have marched and chanted and drummed my way through the streets of Washington. I have cried and laughed and sung with whatever voice I was able to muster. I have linked arms with other hunger strikers, with my sisters, friends, and strangers. I have strived to not only imagine a more just world, but also demand one. After days without food, I have lost much of my short-term memory. Day in and day out, I feel the physical burden of starvation that my people have endured for so long. But my pain cannot amount to that of the Yemenis under siege. And finally, she put it this way: I am starving, but I am not being starved. I am suffering, but I can choose to end that suffering. Jake.
Yeah. So it's a really powerful statement and movement to do this. And man, it's grueling to go through a hunger strike like that. I just don't know if anything is possible in America. I know they passed the COVID bill, and I know everybody's so excited about that because usually nothing ever gets done. But it was a unique circumstance. And now there's some Democrats that are threatening to grind everything to a halt, saying they will never get rid of the filibuster. They don't want to pass things through reconciliation. So I don't know that there's going to be any action. And the brutality of our foreign policy is almost never mentioned in the press. So yeah, I mean, will they cover stories about, hey, this is what's happening in Yemen? Yes, sometimes it's got issues with their coverage, but it's mentioned from time to time. But never in a way of like, wait, this is outrageous. Just like noting, oh, the Saudis are allies, and we have deals with Saudis, and the Saudis buy a lot of defense, equipment from us and weapons from us, and so that creates jobs and things like that. Helping the Saudis starve 400,000 kids, that's not a little thing. That's gigantic. I mean, one of the reasons that I would ever want to have the kind of power that a president would have is to be able to do the bare minimum at least, right? And one of the bare minimums is, hey, Saudi Arabia, you rely on us for your defense, and you rely on us for so many things. And by the way, we're not even holding you accountable for dismembering that Washington Post journalist, right? So no, you're gonna lift a blockade, and you're gonna let these people eat, right? There's food stuck in the ports. The fuel can't go in. If the fuel can't go in, they got no money for the gas stove, for the stoves, for the cars to bring them the food. They got the power generators at the hospital don't work, so people are dying at the hospital every single day because they don't have energy to run the hospitals, and it goes on and on and on. And yet it's a minor issue in Washington. I don't know that the Biden administration is ever gonna do anything about it. And these are Democrats, they're not Republicans. Yeah. They can do something, they're choosing not to for now.
Yeah, Ben, you pointed out how it's gone across multiple administrations. Cenk, you just touched on that there. Since 2014, this particular aspect of the conflict has been going on. And then the pressure that needs to be applied for us to change the way we do things with our foreign policy is just something that needs people to pay attention to. I mean, look, last summer, people suddenly realized that black folks were being assaulted and murdered by police at a high rate based off of nothing in most cases. So, and then people took to the streets. Folks that usually don't take to the streets took to the streets because our attention was there finally. Not because it suddenly started happening, but even though a lot of people who were supporting of that were like, can you believe what just started happening in 2020? And then they took to the streets. When it comes to something like what's going on internationally, that's even further away from our normal thought process. So if we already didn't think about the minorities in our own country and the plight that they go through right in front of our faces, which many of us have seen, how much can we really care about other folks that look even less like us in some other country somewhere else, where we can blame it on the leaders and this militia, and then the Houthis on this side, and then the rebels on that side, and then the backed Saudis and the UAE on this side. All those things, once they come into play, we're like, oh my God, foreign language, foreign people, who cares? So each administration can go through and have the same policies, and we won't notice. Because we're concerned about, man, where's my $1,200 check? Oh my God, my brother is sick with COVID. Oh man, what am I gonna do about dinner? Man, what about the $15 minimum wage? Why is Joe Manchin keep holding this up? So we have things that hit our minds first, and those are just the folks who are paying attention to our politics. Yeah. So how are we gonna get these guys to pay attention and do something different? Because we know the Biden administration promised they would do something different when it came to this. But they also knew as soon as they got elected, they could sit back and go, nobody's really gonna pressure us to do that. And the few people who do, who's gonna listen to them? We have other things to do. And maybe it's a priority problem, maybe it's on the list. But and we're focusing on the children. And Ben, also, I'm glad you pointed this out too. Humans, not just children. And we understand why children are left at a higher rate of concern. It's because they're children, and then every child is innocent. So there's humans, so the number is even larger. People, innocent humans, who are caught in the middle of this by no fault of their own. And we like to tout how we're the shining example on the hill and the whole world. That's why we push those propaganda lines, because anyone that's not paying attention, our automatic thought is, well, whatever's happening in Yemen is the fault of the leaders there. It has nothing to do with America. We're not in Yemen, guarantee. Because that's all we need Americans to care about is we're the shining example on the hill. Worry about what's going on here at home. Everything else over there, we have no control over. When in fact, We're driving things over there and everywhere else.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.